Time to duck and cover, the bombs are coming down. A radiation shower will pour throughout your town. Hands over your head, keep low to the ground. Time to duck and cover, the bombs are coming down. Duck and cover, duck and cover.
Do you remember a time in the 90s when animated movies put more focus on story, character, emotion, and heart and didn't feel the need to knock kids' IQs down a few levels just for the sake of a fart joke or to make sure they get them sweet-ass box office or product placement dollars? I remember those days. The Iron Giant was released in 1999 and was actually the first movie to be directed by Brad Bird, who would later go on to direct both of the Incredibles movies as well as Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It's based loosely on a book written by Ted Hughes way back in 1968 called The Iron Man. The basic premise is that a giant metal robot falls from space and lands in the small town of Rockwell, where a young boy named Hogarth Hughes finds and befriends it, and all that implies. The giant has no idea who he is or where he came from because his head got smashed in the landing, so Hogarth teaches him the ways of being a good person. Meanwhile, you have Kent Mansley. He works for the government and is easily one of the most arrogant, smug, fuck-headed bad guys in any movie ever, and I absolutely love him.
Hey there, Scout. Kent Mansley. Work for the government. Your parents home?
We're eating.
Boy.
Who's there, honey?
Oh, hello there. Do you have a telephone I could use?
Yes, there's one in the kitchen.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Here. Pretend you're a gangster.
He's trying to find out the truth about the giant because he's convinced some foreign country unleashed this thing upon the States. Every cast member in this thing is perfect. Seriously, the writing and performances in this movie are so perfect that you could literally refilm this entire thing in live action without changing any of the script or dialogue, and it would feel perfectly normal. You just kind of forget you're even watching a cartoon to begin with. Eli Marienthal is perfect as a Hogarth, and if that name doesn't sound familiar, most people probably know him as Stifler's little brother from the American Pie movies. Yeah, it blew my mind too. You've got Jennifer Aniston as Hogarth's mom, Harry Connick Jr. as the junkyard owner Dean, Christopher McDonald as Kent, and of course Vin Diesel in one of his earliest roles as the Iron Giant. It's crazy to think that two of the most emotionally impactful roles Vin has ever had are characters that barely even talk. This movie is a massive love letter to the 50s and old school monster movies. I mean, you've got an entire soundtrack of 50s songs. There's a scene where Hogarth is watching an old black and white monster movie on TV, which is an obvious nod to 1953's Fiend Without a Face. There's a lot of mention of the Russian satellite Sputnik. There's a lot of commentary about the fear of being bombed by nuclear weapons, which was a common fear back in those days.
Hands over your head, keep low to the ground. Time to duck and cover, the bombs are coming down. Duck and cover.
Speaking of which, what in the fuck is hiding under a desk supposed to do against a nuclear bomb attack? Better hope that's some strong-ass wood those things are made of. That's about as stupid as that old video where they said a fresh coat of paint would save you from the apocalypse.
This house is the product of years of neglect. It has not been painted regularly. The house in the middle, in good condition, with a clean, unlittered yard. The exterior has been painted with ordinary, good-quality house paint. The White House in the middle survived an atomic heat flash. These civil defense tests have proven how important upkeep is to our houses and towns.
Hey, if anybody watching this was alive in the 50s, can you please tell me if y'all actually believed that shit? I'd genuinely like to know. Plus, the scene near the end where, spoilers, the giant is facing off against the military is pretty much straight out of an old sci-fi monster / kaiju flick. Now, I'm gonna get a little spoilery, so if you haven't seen the Iron Giant at this point, skip this part. You've been warned. The giant himself is shrouded in mystery, but has some pretty horrific connotations when you think about it. I mean, he's a giant metal robot that came from somewhere in space and is equipped with a freakishly destructive arsenal of weapons, including a giant fucking chest nuke thing and an energy orb that just kind of literally vaporizes people. Holy shit. Just want to say this scene is amazing, by the way. Who made him? What's his purpose? In the new Blu-ray version of the movie, they add a previously deleted scene that shows a goddamn army of giants literally destroying a planet, so it's pretty damn obvious he isn't inherently friendly. But it's that fact that gives the entire movie's message just that much more meaning, and it's a message that I wish I had heeded as a kid. Your past doesn't need to define you. You are who you choose to be. That's an important message that a lot of kids nowadays need to remember. Hell, that's something that people our age need to remember. When The Iron Giant originally came out, it was pretty much a box office failure, which lies entirely on dumbass Warner Brothers and their piss-poor marketing campaign for the movie. It's an incredible, nearly flawless masterpiece of animation that deserved a ton more love when it came out, but now, thankfully, it has the cult status that it deserves. People who love this movie as much as myself know exactly why, and if you haven't seen this movie, just what the fuck? See it. There is no excuse. Now, let's just hope that the Giant's appearance in Ready Player One doesn't compel Warner Brothers to shit out a sequel. Just leave it alone, please.
Oh,